everybody, and welcome back to the Broadway Jets YouTube channel. You'll know me from Twitter as NYJ Mike. I'm joined as always by the master of receipts, NYJ Matt and Matt. Today, we're going to discuss the most important position in football, the most important position in sports, what we think is the best move for the Jets at quarterback in 2023 and moving forward. Been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, there's like 8 options they can go with. 3 or 4 are pretty good. 2 are great. 2 are okay. 2 are literally bad, and 2 are unthinkable. And we'll get into that. But first, big thank you to everyone who hit subscribe. We've reached our 200 subscriber goal. 90% of viewers are not subscribed. So if you like the content on Twitter, we'll keep bringing it to YouTube. So go ahead and hit that sub button. It only takes a second. But Mike, where do we start? Because the number one option, number 1 or 2 on everyone's board right now, if it can get done, feels like Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson. Give me the take for why Rodgers is your number 1 pick for the Jets to acquire this offseason.
Yeah, Rodgers is my absolute number 1A. The guy is, and I don't think it's inconceivable. It's not like people don't want Rodgers. You know, there's a lot of money and tied into it and picks, etc. But the dude is the back-to-back reigning NFL MVP. He was the MVP the last 2 years in the NFL. He won 13 games each of the 3 years prior to this one, where he played with a broken thumb and still put up decent numbers, 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns. He threw more picks than he was used to, but he was also throwing to a receiving core of Alan Lazard and Romeo Dobbs and Watson and some weird tight ends, Robert Tonyan. So, man, if you put Aaron Rodgers on this team with the number 1 defense in football, according to PFF, and by most metrics, a top 5 defense, a team that is stacked with young dudes on offense, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, AVT. You're going to get guys like Becton back. You have guys like Elijah Moore on the roster. And then, a team that's hungry and ready to win. This is the perfect time to do it. The Jets are in win now mode. Mm-hmm. There is, again, the reigning back-to-back NFL MVP is seemingly available. And by this report from Peter King today, apparently the Jets will only have to pay him $48 million combined over the next 2 seasons. I think it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yep, there is money to be spent, but it'll take a few draft picks. People are thinking maybe 2 1s, maybe even 2 1s and a day 3 pick. I agree with you. Whatever you can do to bring in a level of talent that is that high, you have to do it. Now, there are questions about how Rodgers will handle New York. I think the New York quote-unquote media is overblown. Like, the Jets beat writers are not the most terrifying group of individuals. So they're going to ask dumb questions, but...
Don't talk shit about Connor Hughes after this.
Yeah, Connor loves you and hates me, which is it's very, very funny the way he's been handling it. But no, I don't mind Connor at all. But if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, it does change the entire dynamic, not of your offense, but your entire organization. You immediately become a playoff favorite, meaning that before the year starts, you're going to be on minus 150 money to make the playoffs, which the Jets have not done or been in 12 years, as everyone knows. So I love the idea of Rodgers. I get if you're a fan that says, hey, look, I want a younger talent. I want to go after maybe a Lamar Jackson or Derek Carr. I don't want to spend the money and the draft capital. That's a fine take. What I can't stand are the individuals on Twitter or elsewhere that say, I don't want Rodgers, fuck him. Like, you can't have that take. You can't have it with how bad the quarterback position has been. You got to give me a good solution if you don't want Rodgers.
Of course, it's a silly take. This is, again, the premier of the premier. Coming into the season, it's Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, whoever, and of course, Brady and Rodgers had kind of down years, but give me a break. I mean, yeah, I can't stress it enough. The guy was the best player in football the last 2 years at the most premium position, coming into a roster that's ready for this. It's not like the Jets have a ton of guys on their team that have long-term deals that you're paying a lot of money. It's a lot of young guys on rookie deals. You have the money to spend on a quarterback. There's going to be some cuts that have to be made if you do something like this, but you could try to restructure some guys if the Jets, have to get rid of Carr Lawson and play Bryce Huff instead, and then get Aaron Rodgers, stuff like that. It's worth it. It's literally worth it. The Jets had the 29th offense in football last year. If they had any competent quarterback play, which they did for a couple of little stretches during the season, but if they had sustained, competent quarterback play, it's not a question they would have made the playoffs. And this is much more than competent quarterback play.
Agreed. Now, to turn the tide here, Lamar Jackson is that number 2 guy. Mike, I'm being honest. I don't think Lamar Jackson hits the open market
No.
via trade. I think he's going to stay in Baltimore. Is it enticing? Of course. If they don't give enough guaranteed money, should the Jets be a player? Absolutely. You'll see another take of, oh, he's been hurt the back-to-back years towards the end of the year. I don't give a fuck. If he's available and Aaron Rodgers stays, I'm going after Lamar Jackson. Thoughts on Lamar? I think he would fit in. I think they would get a good coordinator to bring in. The Jets could really run the ball effectively if they can somehow keep some draft capital and draft another offensive lineman. Becton comes back healthy. I think there's a lot of pros, obviously, in going after a talent of Lamar.
Yeah, and the Jets have enough offensive linemen anyway. It's obviously it'd be great to if they just keep the 13th pick to draft another lineman. We made a video about it yesterday, who we would take with the 13th pick if we were the Jets. But you have enough guys. You have Becton, AVT, Dwayne Brown, Laken Tomlinson. You could re-sign McGovern. You have Max Mitchell around. You could try to re-sign Nate Herbig, stuff like that. So there's enough guys. Lamar Jackson is the other MVP from the last couple of years. He's the 2019 MVP. So now it's very, very great that the Jets at least are in the mix where you're looking at the last 2 MVPs that are quarterback in the NFL are potential options for the Jets next season, which is unbelievable. Lamar Jackson's a much better thrower than people give him credit for also. Of course, I would take Lamar. One of our followers asked us a great question. I have to look up. I forget who it was. He said, would you rather trade 3 ones for Lamar Jackson or 2 ones for Aaron Rodgers? And I honestly don't even know. That's a very interesting question. I guess like you'd like to have Lamar because he'd be around for longer. But man, and both guys have some weird stuff. You said the injuries with Lamar last year. Aaron Rodgers' family hates him, but it's like
Yeah, so I would chalk it up to potentially Rodgers for 2 ones, and the reason for it is you do have invested money in Zach Wilson. Where if all right, you set him down for 2 years behind Aaron Rodgers, maybe he becomes something, and then you have draft capital in 2025. So it's crazy
yeah,
that we're that far away, but I think the Rodgers Lamar take you'll get from a lot of people is that's fantasy land. It's not happening. Well, a lot of people said that about Russell Wilson being traded. A lot of people said that about Deshaun Watson being traded. It
yeah,
might happen. All right. So let's keep it on the table, but we can move to more realistic options if you're ready to go that route.
yeah. I like, yeah.
And then,
I think Rodgers really is an actual option, and I think the Jets will win the Super Bowl if they get Aaron Rodgers or be in the championship game or really a sick team. I will immediately bet a lot of money on the Jets to win the Super Bowl if they get Aaron Rodgers.
yep. Now we look at Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the tricky one where clearly he will be on the move. He will play for a different team. A lot of people are going to be suitors in the Derek Carr saga. Now, when we think of Carr, that February 15th deadline, I believe, where you need to either have a trade in the works and confirmed, but a team can back out because it's not official until the new league year. I think you'll remember Alex Smith had a weird trade like during the year, right? When he got traded to the
Washington?
at the time Washington. It happened like right before the Super Bowl or something. And people were like, how can they do that? And it didn't become official until the league year.
Right.
If they don't trade him, they're gonna cut him. And if they cut him, then everyone can take it on and be the best suitor, go after the most money, whatever it might be. So this scenario is where I need the Jets to illegally tamper. You need to know if Lamar Jackson's like, hey, I'm staying. Aaron Rodgers says, I'm either going to retire or I'm hanging in Green Bay for another year. In that scenario, make a trade for Carr. Don't let it hit the open market. Trade at 3. Get him in the building. The value isn't going to be crazy because they know that they can cut him. So either all the teams can agree to kind of band together and not waste capital and be the ones to hit the open market and win that, or you take the team like the Jets and you jump to the occasion, say, I'm going to give up a 3 for him. I think Carr is my third option, a complete home run, and makes the team, again, a playoff contender.
Yeah, the only way Carr's not a home run is if Aaron Rodgers goes somewhere for kind of less than we thought, and the Jets could have done that, or if you have to trade a 1 or a 2 for Carr. Even a 2, fine, but if there's very competitive bidding, etc. But if you have to give the 13th pick and get Carr is a little bit frustrating. It would be, it's one of those scenarios where you're like, hey, Derek Carr plus the 13th pick, you can make an argument that you're gaining, you're making your team overall a lot better than if you were to trade a 1 for a higher level quarterback. But we've talked about it a lot. Derek Carr would come in and just, he immediately slotted in as the second best quarterback in team history, behind Joe Namath. Obviously, if Chad would have stayed healthy for more time, you could make an argument for him. If Brett Favre played longer on the Jets, maybe you can make an argument. But Derek Carr, 3 Pro Bowls, has thrown for as many as 4,800 yards in a season. He's had some terrific years where he's willed his team into the playoffs. So I'm very impressed when I watch Derek Carr. And I don't know if Jeff fans realize what watching a quarterback throw for like 26 touchdowns and 4,200 yards will be like. And the only thing close recently is Fitzpatrick in 2015. And that's a magical season. You watch your guy throw for 3,900 yards and 31 touchdowns is awesome. And Carr can do that. He sometimes looks like a raccoon with wearing eyeshadow and is a little bit of a wuss in his press conferences. But other than that,
Now,
you
there's
know,
one more thing that bothers you that I don't know if you want to bring up.
yeah, look, I just feel like sometimes he a lot with the religion and the God stuff, which is fine. Believe whatever you want. It's like the corny nature of it is the problem. It's not that he believes in God. You could believe whatever you want, but
But him and
similar to sorry to keep cutting off,
yeah,
but
yeah.
similar to Russell Wilson going to the Broncos this year, corny dude going to another big market, didn't really work out. He's saying obnoxious things in his press conferences that would not go over well in New York. So just stuff like that could cause some strife, but I'll take him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you think if God is out there, a Derek Carr Elijah Moore tandem, they lead the NFL in tweets about God. So and I don't know if are they both going to go all for all pro seasons together. Who knows?
Agreed.
I love the promise of Carr, and I think that also leads into the Tom Brady conversation, which I have no problem selling my soul and taking Tom Brady for a year. I
Yeah.
would sell my soul, and maybe the thing is, like, if he were to in some way come here and win a Super Bowl, it truly would make, if you told me in 2010, hey, you're going to watch him win 3 more and beat your team, but he's going to win so that forever, literally for the rest of our lives, a Patriot fan tries to talk to us. We're like, hey, your greatest individual in your franchise history left you guys because you were lame, came to us, and he went out on top winning with us. That would be like a showstopper. And yeah, you can count him up, but I would take Brady and I would sell my soul to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually not talked about a lot, the point that you just made, which is a good point. And it's they similar to the Patriots taking Darrelle Revis and winning a championship with Revis, which is disturbing. So, right back in their face. You just think, I just wish there was another way. Can't we just win another way and not have to win with this scumbag who I really just truly despise, and he's making out with his son on the mouth and he's being obnoxious and whining and getting all these flags in his favor that shouldn't be and destroying us for many, many years. Just wish and hope that there's another way that the Jets could do it. And there are hopefully, some of these other options that we mentioned. But to your point, look, the second Brady's on the Jets. I love Brady. He's the guy. He always was the guy. It is what it is. But it's just like got to be one other way to do it. Not that
Agreed.
guy.
And one other way, if they miss out on Carr, Lamar, Rodgers, and Brady, is Jimmy Garoppolo, who would be that fifth
Yeah.
guy. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo is more of, it won't be as exciting potentially, but it's a guy who every time he's under center finds a way to win games. He does have a top 3 coach in the NFL when he's playing. He has a stacked offensive line, good skill guys, a phenomenal defense. But if you look at the Jets, hey, we have a phenomenal defense. We have good skill guys up and coming. So maybe Jimmy Garoppolo comes in and can level the playing field. Now, the great value of having him know the system from LaFleur is now gone with LaFleur being fired. So does that become now a lower option than if LaFleur was still here? Curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, just like the Jets are looking to hire an offensive coordinator to fit their quarterback. You've heard about some guys who coached with Derek Carr in the past. You've heard about Nathaniel Hackett possibly getting hired, and the Jets trying to increase their chances of getting Aaron Rodgers, as Hackett was the offensive coordinator in Green Bay when Rodgers won both back-to-back MVPs the last couple of years. So you could do something similar like that, get a Shanahan disciple for Jimmy G. I like Jimmy G a lot. I think he's very underrated just as a player. He's not really a game manager per se. The guy's thrown for 4,000 yards just about. And there are years like last year, he threw for 3,800 yards in 15 games. This is 2021, where that averages out to over 4,000 in a season in 17 games. He's thrown for as many as 27 touchdowns. He's 40-17 as a starter in his career. And he's the opposite spectrum of a guy like Derek Carr, who is a little bit corny and weird, where Jimmy G is cool as the other side of the pillow, and he handsome dude would seem like he would relish in the opportunity in New York. So that's a guy I would be very happy if the Jets get Jimmy G. You just hope he stays on the field. He only played in 10 games this year and 6 games in 2020. So there are some 3 games in 2018. So he has played some complete seasons, but if Jimmy plays 10 games next year, that's a big chunk of the season that you're missing your signal caller.
Agreed. Now this, we did about 20 minutes here. Let's do rapid fire with you. All right, I'm gonna throw a name at you. Give me the reason for and against. Ryan Tannehill.
I love Tannehill. I mean, Tannehill has been terrific ever since about 2016 when he started to turn his career around with the Dolphins. And Tannehill's more than a game manager as well. Dude has thrown for as many as 33 touchdowns. He's thrown for north of 4,000 yards multiple times. He's won a lot of games with the Titans. He's completed over 65% of his passes. I think that Tannehill's a better option than people give him credit for. Then the con is that he's 35 and coming off knee surgery. So, you wanted to pay him as much as some of these other guys. He's probably not going to be around for more than a couple of years, but you could do worse than Tannehill in a stopgap option. And I think he's definitely the clear cut right under Carr and Jimmy G that people aren't talking about.
I like it. Now, how would you feel if Jacoby Brissett is under center, as like the veteran guy in front of Zach Wilson?
See, I think Jacoby Brissett is a piece of shit who is a good backup, who is a terrific guy, who, is too unexciting. You have to be able to do something. Jacoby Brissett loves to go like 16 for 22 with 168 yards, a touchdown and no picks. He's never thrown for 20 plus touchdowns. He's had many opportunities, and he's had opportunities with good teams. When he was the quarterback of the Colts, they go 7-9, and then they get guys like Phillip Rivers and go 11-5. So I'm not, and then look at even the Browns this year. I'm sure the Browns will have a better season with, of course, Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, but that's kind of the point. This is the lowest of the low end of a stopgap guy who has very, very limited upside and just going to try not to lose games. Will be nauseating, and it's not fair to guys like Garrett Wilson, who, you want to see these guys with a real quarterback. I would be very, very disappointed if Jacoby Brissett is our starting quarterback with all these options in 2023.
Are you having a very similar take if Gardner Minshew is that guy as well?
I mean, the only thing with Minshew is at least Minshew has shown some flashes where he's uber talented, throwing for, I'm looking at his stats now, throwing for 250 plus yards per game, for example, in 2020, 2019, his rookie year, he threw 21 touchdowns, 6 picks. At least the guy has shown some flashes where you could conceive that, hey, and he has a ton of swagger where the dude could, hey, if you told me Gardner Minshew has a crazy year, of course you're not expecting that, but it could happen. I don't think Jacoby Brissett ever is going to have one of those crazy years. They're just going to try not to lose games and win, 20-17 and sneak into the playoffs and lose. If you said Gardner Minshew is, and he threw for 1 billion yards in college, if he popped, maybe. So I would still be very disappointed because he's the 7th or 8th guy available, but it's a better option than Brissett, in my opinion.
I like it. And then the final one, Zach Wilson, week 1 starter.
No. And again, you and I are the most patient fans in the world. We like, we're not the kind of guys who just say, oh, this guy sucks, fuck him, blah, 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 out of nowhere. We watched him for 20 games. He looked like a piece of shit. It sucks the life out of the team when he's on the field. He's the most inaccurate quarterback in the National Football League. Again, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, and Zach is very talented. There was a reason that not just the Jets wanted him at 2, but a million teams wanted him at 2. If you told me at some point Zach Wilson popped and was terrific, would I be absolutely shocked? No, it could happen, but I don't want it to be. I don't believe in him, and I will be extremely disappointed if he's the starting quarterback week 1 next year, and I think so will the locker room.
Forgot one more for you, Mike White.
Mike White. See, this is the one that's interesting. Mike White, from when he played last year, the first stretch of games, when he came in the Bears game and then he played against the Vikings and the Bills. Mike White was terrific and was moving the Jets up and down the field. They struggled in the red zone a little bit. How much you want to attribute that to the floor, whatever. Berrios dropped a touchdown against the Vikings that could have changed the whole season. My take at the time was that, and this is not just me, a lot of people online, was that if Mike White doesn't get hurt, the Jets probably make the playoffs last year or the past year. And I still believe that. So in that case, if I believe that, watching the Seahawks game where he played with 5 broken ribs and the Jets got destroyed does not change my opinion on that. Is it the preferred option? No. If Mike White was the starter in 2023, it's not the worst case scenario. It really is not. There are worse options. I'd rather have Mike White than Brissett. I'd rather have Mike White than Minshew. I would die for Mike White instead of Zach Wilson. So it's not crazy. It's not fair for me to change my take just from that Seahawks game.
So that cutover is Tannehill. Tannehill comes aboard. You're on him over White.
Yes, I am. This is a veteran quarterback who's won a lot of games, who's proven it. Mike White has won 2 games in his career. So,
I love it. Hey, it's good. Well, thanks again for listening. Mike, any parting words for the listeners here?
Give me Aaron Rodgers, man. It's got to be Aaron Rodgers. This is the time. The team is set up. They're young. They're explosive. And it's a perfect time. The Jets are getting a worse rep than they should because, again, if your QB1, which was Mike White last year, doesn't get hurt, the Jets probably make the playoffs. And now we're talking about a young, up-and-coming playoff team that's on the verge, missing that one piece that's a quarterback. And boom, here's the reigning 2-time MVP of the NFL available for trade. They have enough assets to do it. Do it.
One more thing. If you're Green Bay, you didn't expect Aaron Rodgers to even be here, and you're about to get 2 first-round picks for him because you drafted Jordan Love thinking you had 2 to 3 more years of him, and he ends up playing phenomenal on an MVP level. You're like, fuck, we're winning. We're making championship games. Let's keep him. Well, guess what? Now the time's coming where you can move off him and net 2 first-round picks, and you didn't even think he would be here because you drafted his replacement 4 years ago. So
yeah, and one more thing, I'm not sure that when some Jeff fans are thinking about the first-round pick, a first-round pick in football is extremely valuable. But the Jets recently have had the 4th pick, the 2nd pick, the 3rd pick. Those picks are worth 2 picks that we would have to trade for Aaron Rodgers. It's like you're trading the 13th pick this year, and you get Aaron Rodgers. You're expecting to be very good next year. So maybe you have a pick in the 20s, the high 20s. The 13th pick and the 20th pick are like a 4th pick. So, it's not crazy for the Jets to trade their number 1 pick for a quarterback.
I love it. All right, we'll wrap it here. If you made it this far, don't forget, again, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back soon. Mike, take care.